folks, you've seen the brush jig that I've been throwing in a lot of my videos, and today I want to get into a little bit of a variation of how I make one that's a little bit different, but it's based on the same hook. The mold that I'm using for that one is the Midwest Finesse Jig. Weedless Midwest Finesse. That's what that one's called. And it calls for this particular victory style hook. I think it's a size 1. And I'm ordering that and actually modifying a different jig because I want a bristle guard on there. And this is the Weedless jig that makes 16th and 32nd ounce super lightweight jigs, maybe too light for a lot of my applications. And instead of what I get when I'm able to use the Dremel tool, which we're going to do in a second, and modify this to fit in there and accept that hook, I gotta take the Dremel tool and grind away and make this a little bit different than what it is. Instead of this mushroom style head, what you end up with, because I've got the bristle guards here, that's the point. That's where I'm moving towards. A really lightweight finesse jig, and I only put, these are I think FG30s. I actually take them in, I figure out, it looks about half, and I'll put half of one. You can order the other ones that are just smaller, lower fiber guard count. But what I'm doing is getting it into that mold, and look at those bristle guards. And I split it in that V formation, just like my twin spin spinnerbaits. You know, there's a lot of different ones, and you can take any bristle guard and split it like that. Is a very good idea. But you know, I'm molding these, but this head is different. It starts as a ball mold, and I've already dremeled out one of them that I used in the video that I filmed, how to get these finesse jigs in and out of brush. It's called Brush Snags. That video featured this one for most of it, not all of it. I still caught some fish with the mushroom or Ned head size or style jig, but a lot of it was, you know, with this mold that I've modified. I'm going to modify, I've got 3 different cavities at 16th. I've already taken this one up somewhere between 16th and 8th. I need one a little bit heavier, so I'm going to modify this middle cavity of 1, 2, 3 that mold 16th ounce ball head, and it turns it into sort of a football head shape. I'm going to fill in on the back side a little bit more, so it kind of has, you know, this sort of rounded, you know, side opposite the hook point. I need one that has a little bit more weight. This is doing great. This is awesome, but it's almost, you know, late winter, early spring. We're going to have some heavier current flow in the river. I need a heavier jig with that bristle guard. So let's go up in the shop. Let's get the Dremel tool out. Let me show you what it takes to modify this, and then pour them up, tie them up, and then I've got you know, another tool in my finesse jig arsenal. All right, I got the Dremel tool here. I already got the little cutting wheel on there. We're going to take a look at some differences. The two bits I'm going to use, this cutting wheel is one, and for modifying molds, I really like, come on camera, focus on that. That ball mill does really good work for you know, doing things like what I originally did with the first Weedless Finesse Jig mold and putting the collars in there. Was this little ball mill. So the ball mill, come on, focus. It's not finding it. but it's a little ball mill Dremel attachment, and it's gonna, you know, it's gonna make some of the shapes that we need it to do. Let's move this hook that was designed for this mold. You can see right there, it's shaped for that, and I just put in that collar there to be able to tie that skirt on there. And we're gonna move it over here, and you can see, comparing it to the one next to it, it's not designed for that. It's it doesn't really line up. It's got this little part that kicks out to the side. Well, it's right below where that little barb is, and that's where this wheel is going to cut, you know, cut across there, and just make room for the shank, that little kickback, just so it's got somewhere such that the mold can close. The other part I'll do is open up the eyelet cavity here, and then I'll take that ball mill and just go straight down into that round cavity and really turn it into a football head. It'll just kind of run in circles here, grind that out, and make it a more pointed shape. And you know, I'm also gonna take out some of this material here to make it a heavier jig than the one that I did before. So this one was 16th and got a little bit heavier. This is going to be a lot bigger, so I just need more weight on a jig that I've tested out and determined works really well. Just needs it to be heavier. Gonna do the same thing to the other side. You gotta make sure it's pointing in the right direction. Let's see. So the bristle guard's going that way. I want the hook to exit. We'll go ahead and lay it on there just to get a good visual. It's nice that I did one of these already, and I know what it's supposed to look like right next to it. So it's going to move off in that direction. It's going to start right there. I'm going to switch over to the ball mill, and I got to open up that eyelet cavity because it doesn't quite line up the way it should. I need more room in that direction. So let's open it up. All right, now we're gonna check, see if I can get this thing closed in there. If I can't, then I gotta go a little bit deeper on that little channel I cut. See what happens. So when it doesn't close, you can see that gap there. So there's something that I haven't quite cleared the way yet. So keep working it. I think that my channel here needs to be a little bit deeper and a little bit more in that direction. And I could tell just by laying the hook there and just saying, yep, I cut it a little bit too low. It's tough to match them up on both sides, but you'll know when that thing closes up. So I'm gonna see what I can do with the ball mill. All right, that is nice and deep. And I let it migrate a little further up in the jig, and that's already behaving as though it wants to go there. Yep. Yeah, so the difference between what we had a second ago and what we got now, which isn't, I don't want to tell you it's full closure, but it's it's looking better. I could pour that jig now as is. I'm happy with it, but I'm still working with a 16th ounce head. So what we're gonna do next is really start digging out that ball head, that spherical shape, and making it a cone shaped in the direction of the football head. And then I'm gonna push it towards the back a little bit. It's gonna be a pretty unique type shape. The back half of it will be sort of mushroom-like. The points on it are gonna be football head shape. So half mushroom, half football head, still, you know, somewhere in that 1/8 ounce, maybe a little bit heavier than 1/8 ounce. Sort of feel like a sadistic dentist. All right, I'm gonna call that good enough. We're gonna take that down to where my lead pot is. I'm gonna get the handle on there and smoke it up, and we'll pour a couple heads in there, see how good a job I did in terms of lining up those two cavities. If I didn't, I'll be right back up here to even it up and really look at one pour to see how good a job did I do with that, just eyeballing it. But for now, that's as far as I want to go before I go any further. You can't put any material back in, but you can take more out. But it's closed up pretty good. Let's go pour. So we do this just to get some soot in there as a release agent. All right, got that all sooted up. We'll kind of wipe that surface off so you can see. I also put a little bit of a collar in there for me to tie on, but that's a good looking half mushroom, half football head shape, and I got room for the fiber guard. So we will, I'm gonna preheat this by just pouring lead in it and making it good and hot. Then I get the hooks in there, and I've already cut up some of those half bristle guards so I can stick those in there, pour a couple up, see how they look. I'm just filling all these cavities to really make this entire mold. Just preheat it a little bit, you know. I don't have hooks in there yet. I'm just heating up the block. I do that probably 3 times. See, that's coming apart. Kind of rough, but we get a preview of what our mold cavity looks like too. All right, so I just did just one, so we get a good look at what we got going on there. Let's take a look. It doesn't want to come out real easy, which means I got to do a little bit more work with the Dremel just to smooth it out so it releases better. But you can kind of see the shape I got. Let's take a closer look. It looks awful, but at least I have something here that I can go back up into the shop and use as a guide for where I need to take more of that lead out. Let's go make this thing not look so awful. It almost looks like E.T.'s head. Yeah, my first sign that this wasn't anywhere close to done is that it was difficult to open up, which means I have some undercuts. I'm actually looking at this one side and I don't think it looks too bad. I think it's the other side. The inside the half that I got in front of me. Yeah, that's ugly. So looks like I'm gonna leave that there. Cavity there goes too far back, and this isn't enough football shape in the middle. So I'm gonna work on the pointiness of that side. So the other thing I want to do is get into this other side where I can look at the part where I had a high point and an undercut in there that I just need to smooth out. I can actually see where, I can see on this blank one where there's enough of an undercut, and I just have to just grade it a little bit. Just smooth out one area where it cuts back in. Just got to smooth it out. All right, we poured one here. I'm going to show you the one on the right there is actually the first one I did, and that one was a ball cavity that I turned into a football head. That's the jig I have been using. Now this one on the right, if you look at it, it's starting to look like a football head, but the symmetry is off. I need more weight on the right side. So I will go back up there and just do a little bit more work. I'm going to turn that down, but you'll see that it's not really a football head. We're getting that half mushroom head type shape, which is going to make this jig stand up nicely. But I got to go and take a little bit more of the mold material out of that right side. I think we'll be ready to go next. Putting the jigs and bristle guards in. Starting to shape up nicely. All right, gonna do a little bit more Dremel work up here in the shop. One thing I wanted to show you is you learn a lot when you're doing this kind of work with the Dremel to customize a mold and eyeballing it. I know there's people out there that say, oh, I got a machine shop, I can do a better job and I got better tools that are more symmetrical. Cool. I don't. I have a lot of tools at my disposal, but a machine shop is not one of them. But when you release that, you're going to notice that one side always releases easier, okay? This one's smooth. This one I did a good job. It released very nicely. This one that I didn't do as good a job at has undercuts. And when you have undercuts that you have to work to get it out, that tells you something. It really tells you gotta, I cut the sprue off before I even got it out there. So I got a bad undercut in here somewhere. But it tells you that this side needs more work. It's, as you go down, there's, say, let me put that back in. Say here are the two halves of the mold that come together. What you have is one side released easy, and the other side, instead of being a smooth, even, surface, it has something like this, so that the lead fills in there, and it's got friction coming out in an undercut. So I have to find that undercut, take the ball mill, and really I work it in the direction where I come up it like this, so that I remove some of this and push it back so that when it releases, it's smooth. So a little more work to do, just some concepts of the handwork with the ball mill to really make this work well. Now this is the side, I just had to take more out of here. For the symmetry, I needed this just to be bigger. These brush strokes starting at the the tip or the wings of the football head and grinding up the side. Just gentle pressure, again, almost like brush strokes that really help smooth out those would-be undercuts. That's what makes it release cleanly. All right, first test. That side opened up good. We'll see how this comes out. Easy, very easy. We're getting there. All right, that's what we got. The surface that's pointing at you is where the hook will come out. We'll say the bottom. And tell me that doesn't look like E.T.'s head. That's kind of cool. I'm gonna pour a couple, and I can come back and adjust this, but it's close to, you know, it's not perfect, but it's gonna make a good jig. It's gonna be, you know, a cross between a football head and a mushroom head. And I'll fit that hook that I like in there so much. It's gonna work out good. All right, there it is. What I hope will be the first E.T. jig, or maybe I call it the alien head, or just the alien. It does look like E.T.'s head. Let's pour it up. All right. That side released good. This side released good. We're gonna trim that sprue off. Give it a couple taps. Oh yeah. It's gonna be good. Let's take a closer look. Look at that big flat surface. Yep, I did everything I needed it to do. Got the bristle guard in there. I will split those bristles in half down the middle to make a V formation, and then I'll powder paint this sucker. This one will be black. I'm gonna pour some that'll be green pumpkin and tie some skirts on there, some round rubber and some silicone. Yeah, that's gonna go nicely into those foam pockets. Catch those springtime Susquehanna smallmouth. Alright, I got a whole pile of these things tied up there, and I got some round rubber, got some brown round rubber, which are going to be the antenna that I tie. I kind of pull little strips like that off. Then I got this stuff that has the sort of barbed wire look on it, and I'll pull a strip like that off. Those are going to be the legs for the crayfish. And then I have this skirt layer, and this also a barbed wire pattern skirt layer. You pull that apart, and I'm only using half of one. That's kind of what makes it a finesse jig is that it's a little bit sparse. Same tie that I do with the other one. And I get people that can look at how I don't use a vise and comment, "We need to get you a vise." No, no, just no. Vise slows me down. I tied for, I think it was close to 5, no, it was 4 or so years with confidence baits. I don't know how long Roy and I had it together, but I will say that I tied commercially, and that means that I owned a business with a friend, which was Confidence Baits, and we made jigs, we made some spinner baits, some buzz baits. Those are the main things that we tied, but we poured dragon heads. He still makes them, still available. Confidencebaits.com. We made the little tube, which is a great little finesse tube that is 2 1/8 ounce long. All right, so I'm just putting the legs underneath there, and they're gonna stay on the underside, and we're gonna take, you do 2 or 3 of them, but that's the antenna, and we will stick that on the top side, and that one's gonna come up and sit on the upper portion of the jig. It's gonna lift straight up, and then we can take the skirt layer, and I leave a short section of it out to the side, wrap that around, and I won't even go underneath the head at this point, but kind of double that over, come over to the other side, and I just leave a little bit of that tab sticking out there so that when I tie this, that it will give a little bit of bulk to the head. And that's basically it. That's the jig. I mean, I gotta clip the end, but 2 half hitches, maybe 3. Get some fly head cement in there. If I get it flowing, it is flowing. That just seals up that knot so it's not going to come undone. I'll trim that off. Trim off the ends of that. See, that kind of just looks like that. Come underneath. Take that off. Get the round rubber, which comes in ribbons like that, where it's just, I don't know, what is it, 30 couple across. But I take this one and I pinch it, and I just try to separate them out, and then I go one at a time, and I sit there and go 1, 2, someone wants to know how many, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's 6 of them, 6 on each side. It doesn't have to be 6. It's just whatever pinch I grabbed, but it's a little bit. I mean, that round rubber's always moving. But the antenna The brown one, not the one that's kind of tan with the little black wavy lines on it, is a lot longer. And I feel like it's the antenna, and I got 3 on this one. I like 3. I know they only have 2. If it bothers you, you can just make one shorter. I don't know. Doesn't bother me. I like that you have a couple that come up and are a little bit higher. Tell me that doesn't look exactly like the antenna on a little river crustacean. Okay, we got the bristle guard, and I'm gonna pinch roughly 50-50. Yeah, and I'm gonna pull that apart and just kind of bend it. Let's say half of you go in that direction, half of you go in that direction, and I push it down. Get down there with your buddies. Come on now. And you can see what that does is it provides a protection for the hook, and I just kind of feather it. Look at the mess I'm making on my desk. It's all right. Give them just a little bit different. Okay, that's the jig. Let's get a bat wings. And we're almost done. So you've probably seen on one of the other, actually on the Mike Breeding jet boat episode, you saw how I rigged this. But the 2.75 bat wings is just the right size to get down to that bend, come back up, and it sits right there on that bend. And I put the hook point right in the part of the chunk trailer, right in the tip, not in the claws, but right in the middle. You see that? And then I come up here and I just skin hook it to keep it up. See that? I still got a point there. That point is still sticking out. See that? Yeah, you do. That one's ready to fish. That's it. So, you know, it's very similar to the finesse jig with the Ned head that I've been making, but man, there's modifying a mold that was made for the bristle guard. And honestly, you could take the Ned head one, the Midwestern finesse jig, and find a way to get a bristle guard in that. That would be fine. But I just wanted to start small, and I had that ball jig with the bristle guard in 3/32. I haven't messed with those. 3/32 and 16th, and I just expanded those cavities to make this. We're gonna call that the alien head. It looks like E.T.'s head, but it's kind of like football head in the front, but then kind of goes into mushroom or Ned style, you know, at the back. And it's gonna come up to those branches and turn the right way to keep that hook point out of trouble. The bristle guards are gonna keep it out of trouble. That chunk trailer width is gonna keep it out of trouble. It'll go through everything. I guarantee you it'll go through everything. It is a thing of beauty. And this one is gonna catch a lot of bass. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. See you.